Hello, good evening. I'm Roger Johnson. Welcome to North West Tonight. Thank you for joining us this evening. Our top story. Fiona is in hospital in Turkey facing huge medical bills. Her family is urging others to make sure they have valid travel insurance.
To medically repatriate, we've had a price of £35,000, and that's before a medical bill's over €1,000 a day.
Fiona had failed to declare pre-existing medical conditions on her travel policy. Also tonight, 16-year-old Alessia spreads the word on teenage cancer after her symptoms were dismissed as growing pain.
Your life completely changes just from this thing, so definitely keep an eye on it and get it checked. Always trust your instinct.
Pole position, Holly Bradshaw on coping with grief as she goes for gold in her final Olympics this summer.
Hey, if you ever fancy a change of scene, Wigan's lovely at this time of year, you know.
Is it?
Have you ever been to Wigan?
No,
15 years on TV, Wigan's most famous canine export, Hacker T Dog, tells us how he made it big on the small screen.
And for many of us today, we have seen another wet day, but with a bit more in the way of brightness. Are we expecting some more brightness tomorrow? Join me at the end of the programme for all the details.
Fiona McCusker-Ray from Oldham took out travel insurance when she went on holiday to Antalya in Turkey. What she didn't do was declare her pre-existing medical conditions. She collapsed, and tonight she is seriously ill in hospital, and every minute the costs are going up. Her travel insurance was invalid, and now her family is facing medical bills which could top £50,000. Ian Haslam has been talking to them.
Fiona McCluskey-Ray flew to Turkey for what her family describe as a bit of an escape following the death of her mother. For the first few days, her holiday seemed to be going well until she fell ill.
She'd been bringing up a lot of blood. And it turns out she had a gastrointestinal hemorrhage, and she's lost a lot of blood through that. We've tried to get in touch with the hotel, the police, the British consulate over there, and then an ambulance was called and she was rushed to hospital. There was a chance of her going into cardiac arrest, and if she'd gone into cardiac arrest, there was a 10% chance of her living.
How worrying a time is this for the family?
It's extremely worrying. Everyone's in bits. My nephew, her son, is the only one that's out there getting to the hospital to spend 5 minutes with her each day. And basically we're just all lost at the moment as to what to do.
This is a glimpse of what Antalya looks like. Surroundings Fiona hoped would help her recuperate. But unfortunately, she didn't declare she had liver disease and other medical issues.
She's done a silly thing. She's not told anybody. She's been feeling really low. Obviously, she suffers from mental health problems exacerbated by alcoholism. And she's made what she thought was a good decision to help her feel a bit better by booking a cheap holiday and not book the appropriate insurance.
Just tell me about the costs that she's facing, that you as a family are now facing every day.
We know that life comes before cost, but to medically repatriate, we've had a price, a starting price, a guide price of £35,000, and that's before a medical bill's over €1,000 a day, and she's been in there since Thursday. I can't thank the hospital enough for what they've done for her, because they've saved her life basically.
British Travel Association ABTA says people travelling without the correct insurance policy is a common occurrence.
They actually forget how important travel insurance is and how economical and good value for money it is if you have medical issues.
Does this sort of serve as a warning to other people, really? Because you've been very honest about it. You've not sugarcoated it. You're all disappointed by the fact she didn't do it properly, aren't you?
Don't try to save a few pound. If you've got medical conditions that you think, I won't mention that because it won't matter, make sure that you mention it because you don't end up in this situation. I didn't think it had happened to us, and my sister obviously didn't think it happened to her.
The family has set up a GoFundMe page to help bring Fiona home. So far, it's raised nearly £4,000. Ian Haslam, BBC North West Tonight.
Now, Margaret Clement from Burnley died after failings at East Lancashire NHS Trust. A coroner at her inquest said that she had received inadequate care and has written to the Trust because of concerns over future deaths. Her family say that they tried to raise concerns but were effectively ignored as nurses failed to alert doctors to her worsening condition. Yunus Muller has this report.
Nana was fire. I called her my electric thunderstorm because she was the most kind, caring, compassionate human, but she would let you know if she wasn't happy.
Have we still got that outfit?
Rebecca Sutton and her grandmother Margaret Clement were close, and she was by her side in her final weeks. An inquest found that nurses failed to alert doctors to her worsening condition before she died.
We trusted a lot in the medical professionals who were taking care of Gran, but in a lot of ways we were wrong to do so. We were vocal at the time, but we went quiet because we were doubting whether we should say something and do something. But I really believe that if we hadn't have gone quiet, Gran could be here now.
Peggy, as she was known, was taken to the Royal Blackburn Hospital in May 2022 after a fall, and following an operation was transferred to Pendle Community Hospital. But there she suffered internal bleeding. No one got a doctor or told the family.
The nurses wrote in the wrong diaries. They wrote on the wrong patient's notes to stop medication. They continued to inject her with blood thinners for 3 days before she died as she was bleeding.
It was 3 days before she was transferred back to the Royal Blackburn Hospital.
She said, I feel ill. And she said, it's coming away. And I pulled the sheet back. And I never expected to see this blood.
The 92-year-old died of a stroke the following day during a procedure to find the cause of the blood loss. The coroner for Lancashire and Blackburn with Darwin has written to the Trust warning there could be further deaths if care isn't improved.
The Trust says it has implemented 2 comprehensive action plans, including one tailored to the ward Margaret Clement was on. It's also putting in place great efforts to enhance the response when patients are deteriorating, and has set up a hotline that families can turn to voice their concerns and to get an independent review of their loved one.
It follows the introduction of Martha's Rule at more than 143 hospitals, which allows families a second opinion. The Royal Blackburn and Burnley were eligible for the change.
I won't believe a thing that any of these say now. I don't even believe that there'll be changes.
This is a awful thing to say, but Gran would have been safer at home than she was in hospital.
Peggy's family say she died without dignity and want the horror of what happened to her to never be repeated with someone else. Yunus Muller, BBC North West Tonight.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, we're off to the Isle of Man TT a little later in the programme, and we've got a full weather forecast for you. But first, detectives investigating the murder of a man whose body parts were found at 3 different locations in Salford are now investigating a 4th site at Parfold Park in Worsley. 2 men have been charged with murdering 67-year-old Stuart Everett from Salford. A judge has ruled that the public inquiry into serial killer Lucy Letby's crimes will not be live streamed. The hearing will examine how the nurse was able to murder babies on the Countess of Chester Hospital's neonatal unit in 2015 and 2016. Lawyers for the families had argued that broadcasting it live would prevent the spread of conspiracy theories. A manhunt is underway tonight for Daniel G, a 44-year-old from Liverpool who was jailed indefinitely in 2010 for making threats to kill. He absconded from an open jail in the northeast. Cleveland police are leading the search. Now, a teenage cancer patient is urging other young people to be persistent in seeking medical help if they suspect they may have symptoms. 16-year-old Alessia from Wigan was told by her GP that she had growing pains. After going back several times, she was diagnosed with stage 4 Hodgkin lymphoma. Dave Guest has this report.
Last-minute revision for GCSEs is always a tense time for teenagers. But Alessia has had to cope with more stress than most in the run-up to her exams.
I started really feeling like me getting tired, barely having any energy or motivation ever. And these pains were carrying on and getting worse over time.
It turned out Alessia had Hodgkin lymphoma. Alessia's story is more common than you might think. Figures from the Teenage Cancer Trust suggest 7 young people aged between 13 and 24 are diagnosed with cancer each day.
Hodgkin lymphoma is among the most common cancers found in that age group. Yet getting a diagnosis can be difficult. The symptoms are sometimes confused with growing pains or infections. In fact, a survey in 2022 revealed that 47% of people in that age group who were eventually diagnosed with cancer had seen their GP 3 or more times before getting a referral.
I went to the GP numerous times, and as I was only 15 at the time, they were like, oh, it's just growing pains, it's just growing pains.
By the time she received a correct diagnosis, she'd developed stage 4 Hodgkin lymphoma. The Teenage Cancer Trust supports teens and their families through the tough times. Jen is Alessia's support worker.
I think the biggest thing is listening to them and understanding how they feel, understanding that it is a raw emotion.
What upset me the most was asking, like, am I going to lose my hair, and thinking of the side effects.
Hours of chemotherapy can be tedious, so Alessia and Jen have become dab hands at making TikTok videos.
It takes your mind off everything else and what's really going on.
Today, she's at Edmund Arrowsmith High in Wigan, talking to her Year 11 classmates about her experiences.
I've suffered and thought way too much about my image, people's opinions, what they think of me. Although my journey isn't completely over yet, slowly I've come to the realisation that although my wig, for example, has brought me unreal amounts of confidence, I don't need it to be confident in being myself.
What would be your advice to other teenagers who may suspect that there's something not quite right?
Be persistent and get it checked. Always trust your instinct.
Dave Guest, BBC North West Tonight, Wigan.
And we wish Alessia all the very best. Now, this week, if you've been watching the programme, you'll know that we're looking at the issue of special needs education and the rising number of children requiring support. Last night, if you were watching, you'll know we looked at how mainstream primary schools are coping. But there's also been a growth in demand for places at special schools as well. High Furlong School in Blackpool is, as a result, expanding to cope, as Molly Brewer has been finding out.
Welcome to High Furlong, a special needs school in Blackpool for students aged 2 to 19. In the last 10 years, the amount of pupils here has more than doubled, and still demand for a place is huge. And it's a similar picture across the town.
We're literally bursting at the seams as you go across the school in all areas. We've well over 100 children now with constant consultations for places at the school.
The other schools are in exactly the same position. They are full, if not over full.
A quick walk around and it's clear space is an issue. Hundreds of equipment kept in corridors, physio sessions taking place in the halls, and a unique classroom to say the least for one year group.
So poor Year 11s have had to move into the kitchen, so it's not ideal.
This is your new classroom.
Yes.
What do you make of it?
It's definitely interesting. Like, we have a lot of chairs, has to move around, so it does take longer to get to places, but we've managed and we've overcome it in a way.
Absolutely, and you're near the snacks.
Near the food, so that's nice. That's a benefit in a way.
But this setting is only temporary. In fact, this new building should be ready by September, which will be able to accommodate more students.
Ready? Hands in!
Why do you think it is that demand is so high, Jasmine?
A lot of our younger pupils coming in have a lot more physical, medical, complex needs. Potentially, you know, these children would not have survived the illnesses and how poorly they are a few years ago. And with medicine changing, there's a massive influx of pupils needing SEND provision in reception and Year 1. Those are the children who their starting points were during COVID, where they've not had the input from nurseries and school and not been able to have, you know, that early help.
As our settings become full, the children that would have been here 5 years ago are in the mainstream setting.
Do you worry about those children that could really, benefit from a place like this but are having to go to mainstream school?
Absolutely. I think you know, as a parent and as a teacher, you want your children to go to the setting that's going to meet their needs.
Molly Brewer there at High Furlong School in Blackpool. Tomorrow we'll speak to parents who have struggled to find help for their children. Now, qualifying and practice is underway on the Isle of Man ahead of the festival races which begin at the weekend, the TT of course, and the Manx government has announced support for traders for whom TT fortnight is both a blessing but also sometimes a bit of a headache. That's because of rising bills and staff shortages. Ashley Tracy sent this report.
It is the busiest time of the year here on the Isle of Man, and when droves of visitors arrive to see the pros reach speeds of up to 200 miles an hour, they bring with them a welcome boost to the island's economy.
On one of the most famous bends of the mountain course, staff at the Cregna Bar will pull thousands of pints.
It's a great atmosphere to work a shift at TT. It is a massive big part, there's no doubt about it, but we do have a very consistent business all year round as well. Although this year I'd say it's probably been the hardest. People are not going out and spending as much. They haven't got that disposable income like they did.
Further up the 37 3/4 mile circuit, the owners of the Victory Cafe say it wouldn't survive without TT.
We've passed on maybe around 12% increases in our menus and everything, but our costs have risen by, you know, you're looking at maybe 30% plus. We're so squeezed, it's really difficult.
Last month, hospitality traders called for extra support from the government, so a scheme which will see bonus payments for staff working extra hours over the festival has been introduced.
So this is very much about recognising over TT they've got a real sort of acute challenge, especially around skills and getting people to come and help. It's obviously in our interest to make sure for them, for our economy generally, to make sure those businesses are thriving, are open over that really, really important busy period for them.
Even with that support, not everyone can bank on the extra footfall. The Dovecote Tea Room, which sits directly on the course in Kirkmichael, can't open its doors when the competition is underway. And with the number of races having risen last year, that means more time when customers can't visit.
We all love the TT, but for us, yeah, it just doesn't work for us. It generates a lot of waste, really. We did it for 5 years, and then with the new schedule coming in, that was even worse. So they were closed extra days.
And there's concerns the tea room might have to make some difficult decisions in the near future.
I'm at that point, yeah, where I'm considering what to do within the next 12 months. Because trade it's definitely changed, you know? Definitely changed, and the costs have increased so much you can't absorb it forever.
So while steps to help hospitality traders over TT have been announced, it remains to be seen if some bars and cafes will still be in business when the riders get that tap on the shoulder next year. Ashley Tracy, BBC North West Tonight, the Isle of Man.
Yeah, TT time, a very special time on the Isle of Man, isn't it? Right, we'll carry on with sport. We've got a bit of a bonus. Midweek bit of Richard, who's standing over by his big tower.
That's debatable, Rog.
Listen, this is no great surprise, is it?
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of people will be thinking, hang on, Burnley went down and he gets a plum job in Germany, but Vincent Kompany has gone to Bayern Munich.
Yeah, he has, Roger. Burnley and Bayern Munich have agreed a compensation fee for Vincent Kompany, who's now the head coach of the German side. He leaves the Clarets after an up-and-down couple of years, promotion to the Premier League as runaway champions the season before last, followed by relegation back down to the Championship. The former Manchester City captain has signed a 3-year deal with the Bundesliga giants. Burnley can now, of course, focus on finding his replacement. It looks as though we have a date for Tyson Fury's heavily anticipated rematch against Alexander Usyk, the 21st of December. Tyson will, of course, be hoping for a different result. Usyk won on points, you might remember, by a split decision in Riyadh earlier this month. It means the Ukrainian holds all the belts, the first undisputed heavyweight champion for 2.5 decades. It had been hoped that the fight could be arranged for October, but according to officials in Saudi Arabia, it will be December the 21st. Put it in your diary. As we build up to the Paris Games at the end of July, we'll be featuring some of our Olympic hopefuls, as we have been doing. And tonight we're looking at a pole vaulter who's hoping to bring the curtain down on her stellar career with another medal. Lancashire's Holly Bradshaw, who won bronze at Tokyo 4 years ago. If she qualifies, this will be Holly's 4th and final Olympics. Davinia Ramos has been to meet her.
Holly Bradshaw has experienced the highs and lows of being a professional athlete, but she's feeling stronger than ever for what will hopefully be her 4th and final Olympic Games.
Having had the weight of the world on my shoulders and so much pressure for the last 3 Olympics, it's nice to know I'm going into one where it's a bit more chilled. There's not everything riding on it. I'm just going there to see what I can do, and hopefully that brings out the best in me. The amount of PBs I've got in training, in the gym, you know, climbing up the rope, I'm just feeling really good and really strong.
The last year has been challenging. In November, she lost her dad, a grief she describes as overwhelming. She thought that would be the end of her career, but training here helped motivate her.
September and October was really difficult. I was splitting up with my coach. You know, it wasn't a very good relationship in the end there, so that was a lot of stress. And then my dad wasn't very well. And then when he passed away, it just put a lot of things into perspective, and I just really struggled to see how I could ever run down the runway with a pole again. And then come the new year, something just like switched in my brain. As the training started to go really well, I was like, okay, let's give this 4th Olympics a bash.
Her positivity and calm outlook's down to moving back home to Lancashire, where her love for athletics first began.
This is the place that sparked my energy and enthusiasm for athletics. You know, I went down to Blackburn Harriers, and that's where I pole vaulted for the first time. I used to go to Preston Harriers to do hurdles, and I remember running on my school field about half a mile from here, around the grass track, and it feels quite nice that I'm ending here, it's where I started.
She's putting no pressure on herself for Paris 2024 and says her dad will be with her every step of the way.
Nothing gave him more joy than sitting on an athletics track with his binoculars that he always had. He'd be really proud, and he's still got his ticket for Paris, so I know he's going to be watching. He would have loved to have been there, but he'll be watching me anyway.
Holly only has a few more weeks to find out if she's made the Team GB squad. They announced the team in July. Davinia Ramos, BBC North West Tonight, Chorley.
Be great if Holly could come home with a medal, wouldn't it? Well, we're still waiting for news on the future of Manchester United's manager, but changes are certainly being made elsewhere at the club. Non-playing staff are being invited to apply for redundancy to try to cut costs. BBC Sport understands staff were sent an email giving them the option of whether they want to stay at Old Trafford. New co-owner Sir Jim Ratcliffe is reported to want to trim staff numbers and put more money into the first team. There were emotional scenes at Liverpool's M&S Bank Arena last night at a farewell event for former Reds manager Jurgen Klopp. The event gave fans the chance to ask Klopp questions about his time at the club, and as you can see, when they broke out into song and chanted his name, he was very emotional, as you can understand. Klopp, who's leaving after 9 years at Anfield, then gave the crowd, here he goes, what they wanted, his familiar fist pump salute. That's what they were waiting for, Roger, and he didn't disappoint.
Fantastic. Richard, thank you very much. So we're going to crack on. If you were watching last night, the final item before the weather last night, Emmanuel, you'll remember because you were here, was a piece about a 17th century masterpiece which has gone on show in Liverpool. Tonight, it's a TV presenting dog from Wigan, and the reason that you are here, Emmanuel, is poor you were sent to interview him.
I was indeed. Well, you know, he's done everything from CBBC to Celebrity Mastermind, where I think he came second, actually, to a few appearances, even here on North West Tonight. It's really a celebration of his career because this month he is celebrating 15 years on CBBC. No small feat for a dog, that's a long time. And he told me all about it.
Devil! Wow! Stop it with that. I'm a vegetarian.
I can't believe I'm actually here.
Hang on a minute, what are you doing in here?
Can I have a hug?
Of course you can. What are you doing in CBBC HQ?
I'm here actually to celebrate 15 years, your anniversary, 15 years on CBBC.
Yes!
How did you become a TV presenter?
When I was in my house in Wigan, eating some custard, watching the telly, and the phone rang and I answered it and went, hello! And it was Ed the Duck, do you remember him? And he went, quack, quack, quack. I said, speak English, man. And he went, all right, do you want to come down to London and be on the telly with me? I said, not really, no, because I'm in Wigan, it's 200 miles away. He said, well, don't be rash, come down. And I went down and got the job.
Wait. So you actually refused?
Yeah, I said I didn't want to do it because it was too far away. But I went down and I got the job, and then 15 years later, I'm still on. Hey, have you got any archive? Can you show the first time I was on? Oh, wow.
What do you think it is about you that makes you a national treasure?
Raw talent, unadulterated skill and modesty mainly, I think.
Very good.
And a nice shirt. I love the viewers and they always get involved and it's nice to entertain people and make them happy. We're just normal men. We're just innocent men. Oh, I love the Northwest tonight, viewers, yes. And I'm a big fan of your mate and mine, Regional Roger, if you're watching. Hello, Rog!
Great.
Get in the guns,
Thank you for
Roger!
coming to see
Get
us.
in the guns!
Now it's got me.
You've interviewed a lot of celebrities.
Lots of people, that's better.
You've been up for so many awards.
Eight BAFTAs.
You've done lots of stuff for children in need.
Big time. Charity. Me and Charity
you've
are like
done
that.
Lots of songs. Is there one particular moment that you think that's my highlight? That is the highlight of my
I
career?
enjoyed meeting Sue Barker the very first time. That was in 2009 in Wimbledon, where they do the tennis. Have you heard of it?
Yes, I have heard of Wimbledon.
Sue Barker, you're better than a permanent marker. That's a pen, Sue Barker. Sue Barker, if you were a fish, you would be a shark. Aye, Sue Barker.
I think...
Sue, I'm not finished when I'm not around.
Where do you see yourself in the next 15 years?
15 years? I reckon I'll still be here on CBBC.
Oh,
I'll have
lovely.
grey fur by then. I'll be all grey and wizened and thought-provoking and still being great and funny, and I shall still be an innocent man.
I did not come empty-handed.
Did you? Oh, you brought me a present!
Hacker, happy anniversary.
Yeah.
15 years on CBBC.
And here's to 15 more. Give us that cake. Give it here. Ah! Does your pelvis grow back?
Happy anniversary, Hacker. Sorry for interrupting you when you were singing. Right, on to the weather. So today has been really a mix. We've seen quite some heavy rain out there, but compared to yesterday, a bit more in the way of brightness. Well, because we still have an area of low pressure driving our weather at the moment, yesterday, today, and for some time tomorrow as well, before this area of high pressure moves in. So tonight, we are expecting any rain or showers to clear as we head into the early hours. You'll see some cloud building at times, and that rain will move back in, and we'll see temperatures dropping to around 9 degrees Celsius with a bit of a breeze. So it's a cloudy start tomorrow. Some early rain as well. The rain will clear as we head into the afternoon. So it's really a mixture of sunny spells, cloudy conditions at times, and I think for some of us, the odd shower. Temperatures getting to highs of around 19 degrees Celsius. The winds will pick up for the Isle of Man, and I think along coastal areas as well. So then, as we head into the end of the week, this area of high pressure fully takes charge. Around it, there is some cloud. So that means on Friday, we will see some cloudy conditions for a time. But I think overall, it will be drier. Sunny spells around as well. Temperatures getting to highs of around 19 degrees Celsius. And as we head into the weekend, a lot drier, a good deal of sunshine as well. And as you can see, temperatures getting to around the low 20s.
It's not bad, is it?
Not bad at all.
So you did very well with Hacker.
Thank
He's
you.
a handful, isn't he?
He was.
I feel particularly sorry for Phil Fletcher, who he lives with in Wigan, who looks after him.
A legend. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's very good.
Yeah. Thank you for watching. He's a right handful. Have a lovely evening. Great to see you. Bye-bye.